Hey, what's going on, people? So, one of my subscribers asked me I should do a video on what my life was like during my 20s. And I guess it's best if I do them in little installments from 20 to 29. So, my mid 20s, which is 23 to about 26, 27, all of my life is documented on YouTube. So I don't really feel the need to do videos because 26, 27, 28, 29, 25 is documented. On that page though, I have some private videos when I was 24. I'm locked out of that Google account, but I have some videos when I was 24 and 23 a little bit. But I don't really look any different. I just gained a little bit more weight. And yeah, stress is something else. And my eyebrows grew back a little bit more too. But I don't look any different in my mid 20s than I do now. Like I said, I'm getting a little older. So that's only difference. But I still shave, I still have hair, thank God. But I'm gonna start off with age 20. And I think it's best if I just put the camera like this, but I don't want to look in the camera. Makes my eyes hurt. And I just ate, by the way. So age 20, I have still a pretty good memory, so I'll just tell you everything month by month. January 22nd, 2015. I worked at Cracker Barrel. I had to work on my birthday. I remember eating, at the time, I wasn't a vegetarian. I used to eat potatoes and bacon for breakfast with soda. And I had that from Save-A-Lot until I grew sensitive. This is before I grew sensitive to certain stores' food. If clothing or non-food products are served in a store, I have this strong sense not to eat there because non-food items don't mix with food. Like when they say don't put anything that's not food related on the table, I think they mean that for a reason. Why do you think gas station food tastes so horrible? Because all those chemicals from the gas pump and the cars are going right inside the store and it's entering in the food. And it makes the food, regardless of the fact that it may be inside of a package or inside of like an oven or microwave or a little cabinet, it's still contaminated with the air. The air is still contaminated by the pollution from the cars and the gas fumes. But I remember I had Cracker Barrel for lunch because I worked on my birthday and they gave me a free employee meal. And then I wound up throwing up after I ate that garbage. The last time I ate Cracker Barrel, I was 24. But I ate that stuff for, I got a free employee shift meal. And on Mondays, I never closed. I only worked that day from about 1 in the afternoon till about 8 o'clock at night. And my train would come from the regional rail. I would take the Thorndale line, Thorndale line, all the way to Witsford Station. So I basically put it like this: during my birthday, I didn't recall getting any gifts. I was getting older where I didn't really have people I talked to like that. Now, it was somebody who was watching. I had an old channel on here, right, that I don't remember deleting it when I deleted it, but I had a channel on here, and I don't recall how many subscribers I had, but I had a nice following because when I had this channel from like 20, when I was like 19, 20, 2014, 2015, I spoke on, like I stopped posting videos around the summertime. But the year before my 20th birthday, I was always just talking about jobs. Um, I gained a following when I talked about when I wanted to unalive myself. And that's when I gained a following. I think my most popular video, because I also had an Instagram account too. I would just post little pictures of myself. But I stopped doing that when I realized how pointless that stuff was. I had a Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and that was pretty much it. I tried to, yeah, that was pretty much it. So basically, so here's the thing. Before I turned 20, I smoked weed for the first time at I wanted to be a comedian, and I went to this open mic. Well, it was like a show for like anyone that wanted to perform. And okay, so I was drinking really heavy that day at this comic book store. I think it got closed down. It was in like University City. I got really, really, really drunk. I was drinking, I think it was either rum. It was rum. It was definitely rum. Or maybe gin. But I was drinking a lot. Like people mix. I don't drink anymore. I haven't had a drink in like 10 years. But when you drink, you mix your drinks with other liquids, other like soda or orange juice. I just drank straight rum in a cup till I passed out. I was laughing too hard. They wanted to kick me out the party. I only been to calm down when they started rolling up weed, and I smoked. And I thought if I smoked weed, something bad would happen. Like I would go crazy. But this is what's crazy. It just gave me a lot of energy. I ran. I had more confidence to talk to people. I was talking to girls that I knew were way out of my league, and that's just what I did that whole night. And I remember I ate some pizza. I was eating pizza, and I was just talking to like female after female. So I'm gonna talk about some other things too, but yeah, 20. The reason why I brought up the weed, because at the job, when I worked at Cracker Barrel, it was this guy named Rick. He was like a host at the store. He didn't live in Philly. The job wasn't in Philly, but he lived in like another county. And he offered his blunt to me. He was smoking it while we just happened to run into each other. He offered me a hit of his blunt, and I don't smoke anymore, but I never liked the idea of sharing people's like weed. I just thought that was disgusting. But I smoked because I just felt like what do I have to lose? I mean, just a little bit of weed. And man, the same thing happened. We got on the bus, and I was just hitting on every female on the bus until it wore off. I feel like it wore off when I got on like the regional rail. When I wasn't talking to anybody no more, I felt like it wore off. So that was that. So basically from January, February, I want you to know that I'm obsessed with a couple things. For one, I'm obsessed with losing my virginity, because at the time I wasn't going to church, I wasn't reading the Bible, I didn't believe in religion or God, and sex is so talked about. It's so taboo. I wanna see what all the hype is. But the only difference is, when I told you that I was hitting on women, I'm hitting on girls, I only did that because it seemed the most socially appropriate because secretly there were other things that I was interested in, and this is 2015. So what like where things are now with like gay people, trans people, it really wasn't like it was 11 years ago. I mean, it was a little bit, but not so much. Like, you couldn't really hold hands with another male or whatever, another trans person in that year. Like, you could, but you would be subject to harassment, people yelling slurs at you. If you did it, it would be best done in a more gay friendly part of town. But most cities, like where I live at, most liberal cities, it's sort of accepted to a certain degree, but not really. But I'm obsessed with losing my virginity at 20. So I'm just trying to think. Okay, so around this time, Craigslist is a site that I'm interested in going on. I actually obtained my first job through Craigslist. And this is how I got my first job from Craigslist in 2014. And I'm beginning to discover through Craigslist that this is where people just hook up. They just hook up with people that are just looking for, you know, some fun. And I want to just be honest with you. I had a lot of sexual encounters in 2015. A lot of them I don't talk about because some of them I'm ashamed of. But the one thing I can tell you is this. My first encounter ever, even though I am a little ashamed. I am very ashamed of it. But it was the one encounter that I think, because I don't want to go backwards, but it wasn't a bad encounter. It was great. It was wonderful. And you know, I like I said, I was just trying to see who I was. That's all I'm really gonna say. I was trying to just like really see what it was that I felt like I was, and that day confirmed it. And it wasn't like a relationship at all, because like I said, I wasn't comfortable, and the person was a little older than me, but it only lasted from like March until to like June, because like I said, I wasn't comfortable with a few things. For one, I was so paranoid with catching like an STD or HIV. That was the first thing. The second thing was I wasn't really comfortable with sex at all. I wasn't really comfortable with the idea of having like, I feel like with age, or maybe just through experience, sex, your taste in sex increases or decreases. The more you do it, the more your appetite increases. And the older you get, depending on if you have a dirty mind, it increases. And mine was at the level of like, it was low at 20. So like I said, that was like I said, it was a pleasant encounter, but I was really ashamed of it. And I arranged a way to hook up with a female because I was so ashamed of what I did. And all I can say was it was actually so bad, so uncomfortable, that I began to just accept that this is just, at the time, this is just what I am, who I am. So, you know, around that time, like I said, I had about, because I understand too, this is when I, at 20, this is when I begin to use drugs and I start drinking a lot. So I remember everything I did. If I were to sit down and just think about everybody who I've come in contact with that year, by whatever means, I would be able to count. But I know it was over 10 or 12 people. But I'm just like sort of thinking right now. Yeah, like the first person ever. I'm just glad it wasn't, because like I said, my first ever contact with anybody, it happened to be with a female at a hospital that I was at, and I was really uncomfortable with everything she was doing. And then that's when the whole gay thing came into being, like in my mind. Like I began to think I was gay. So, like I said, some of the things I did during my first encounter, like I said, I was really ashamed of. And all I can say is, like I said, I regret doing it because it led me into darkness. And let me just explain to you what I mean by that. Normal things that I was able to do before my first encounter, I found to be quite difficult. Like, when I mean going into darkness, my hair, like, I stopped cutting my hair. The last time I got a haircut was actually 2025, but before that, my last haircut was when the Straight Outta Compton movie came out. That's when I got my last haircut. And I feel like when I engaged in my first, because it wasn't a relationship. I wasn't dating this person at all. Like I said, we were just hooking up, and there were things I wasn't really comfortable with because you can't really ask people, like, you really don't know what somebody else has unless that's your spouse. But you can't really ask somebody, do they have STDs, do they have HIV? That was what made me really uncomfortable, because a lot of the things I was doing, at least, I never went all the way, but most of the things I was doing was unprotected. And like I said, the last time we encountered each other, it was fun, but like I said, I wasn't going to church, I wasn't reading the Bible, but I just wasn't comfortable because I kept stressing about catching something. But during all of that, I began I'll just say somebody in our family sold marijuana. I got into contact. I'll just say an uncle of mine had a nephew that sold me marijuana. And we'll just say that when I cut my foot, so I got hurt at work around April. It was definitely April or May. I cut my foot, it got infected, and I couldn't walk on it. I was out of work for like a week or two. I got really bored, and the very guy that was selling me weed, out of curiosity, I listed every drug on this movie called Party Monster. Party Monster was this movie about this guy who was like a club promoter in New York City, and he got so strung out on dope, he owed his dealer like a lot of money, and they got into an argument, and he hit this dealer over the head with a hammer and killed him, and they hid the body, and he wound up getting he got like 20 years in prison. He only did like 14, maybe like 18. He did like 18. He got out, and he wound up overdosing like 5, 6 years ago. But I listed like every drug on that movie, and he said I can't find the rest, like most of the stuff he talking about. But he said I have the white girl, and the first time I did a hard drug was 20. So weed is not a it's not classified as a hard drug, but cocaine is, because the amount of energy it takes out of your body. So I'll just put it like this: what he gave me, I don't do cocaine anymore, obviously, but what he gave me was a little bag. He charged me $50 for that, and I told this story before. He charged me $50 for it, and I just did what I thought I should do. How I seen people in movies ingest cocaine. I just imitated what I would see on movies. Like I assumed you just empty the bag on the table and just sniff it, and that's exactly what I did. And guys, let me tell you, within 5, 10 seconds, I just had a boost of energy. I didn't know where it came from. And I'm just walking around in circles the whole time, just walking around, walking around. I'm feeling great. I'm happy. I'm calling. At this time, I do have some people I talk to, like my brother. I'm just calling people on the phone with all this energy. I'm happy. I'm jittery. And I'm all like, and I'm at the time, my foot is broken. I had this cut on my foot, and I'm able to walk on my foot now, even though I cut it. I have all this energy. I'm all like, hey, I think I can go to work now. And I'm trying to call my job. I'm like, hey guys, I can actually come in tomorrow. I'm good. And this is definitely gonna be worth another part. But I have all this energy, all this energy in me. And I had to take it around maybe 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I last like that. I stayed up from 8 p.m. to about 6, 7 in the morning. And I think like the next day, or maybe like a day or two later, I got the same thing back. I got the same deal. I got another bag. I got like another bag for like $50. No, the first bag was like 40, because he got kind of like a little aggressive with me when I just gave him like $40, and he said, "Oh, the first bag I gave you was $40." And this is when I was like coming to my senses. Like, you don't want to fall into this too much, because drug dealers, while I have done drugs in my life, like, here's the thing though, it's never been like a straight consecutive stint with doing drugs. It's always been like my 20s was just a thing for me. Like 20 was the only time I really did drugs. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. I never touched anything at all. Never touched any kind of hard drug. Weed, I stayed away from that. Now I fell back into it, and I thankfully by God, I left a lot of that stuff alone. But around like 20 was when I did the most stuff. Like I said, um, the second time I did it, it was the same thing. It was an intense high. I think I put it in my hand and I just sniffed it that way. And then the only thing I noticed that was different, the high probably stopped around maybe, instead of it being like an all night thing, it probably stopped around maybe 3 in the morning. I know it didn't last the whole night. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. So what I didn't know about drugs was you have withdrawal, you have like side effects. And I felt those effects, man. I had a nose itch that wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. It went on from about like 3 days. My nose was itching. I wasn't angry or irritable, But I will tell you that for about 10 years, just like when I took an antidepressant at a mental hospital and I had like sleep paralysis for like 13 years, I had nosebleeds for like 10 years where I wake up in the morning, I have a lot of snot coming out of my nose, and it would be blood in there because you do, like I said, I've done coke. So I did it so with the dealer who was part of our family. Well, he wasn't a relative, but my uncle that passed away, his nephew that sold me coke, he gave it to me 3 times. Now just say somebody on my dad's part of the side of the family, he's not related to my dad at all, but this person, he sold it to me. So he gave me about, so I thought, this is what I thought. I thought if I gave him $50, because let me tell you, when I got it from the guy that was, who gave it to me the first time, the last time I got it from him, it was a waste of time because I didn't feel this. It wasn't the same effect as the first or the second time. I did a $50 bag and I wasted my money and my time. It only lasts for about 5 minutes. And I felt horrible. I just said I wasted all that money for nothing. I happened to running into somebody who saw me smoking a cigarette because I used to sort of smoke like for image, like just for an image, not because I like nicotine. But he saw me smoking and he just told me that I sell weed. Come F with me when you get the time. I got his number and I just asked him, do you know anybody that sells some other stuff? Because that's what I was doing. And he said, yeah. I gave him $50 thinking I'm going to just get the same bag. I didn't know what tolerance meant at that time. But he gave me, instead of like one bag for $50, he gave me about 6 or 7. And I hugged him. I said, man, I get this much money? I get this much? And a lot of it was, like I said, they were like small little bags. It was like little drops of it in there. I was like, wow, I get this much for $50. So the guy was ripping me off because I should have got more. I don't care about it at this point. Because that stuff, let me just tell you something about drugs. Nothing you buy is pure. A lot of that stuff is cut. When they buy, I've never sold drugs before, but when they sell that stuff to make a profit, they cut it with other things like Ajax cleaner, paint, maybe like I said, I'm not a drug dealer, but I know they cut it up so they give you what looks like coke is other stuff. But when you're on drugs, you don't care about that stuff. You want to just get high. And I purchased from him for about 4 times. So one time I gave him $50. Next time I gave him 100. I gave him another on my last time with him. And I hate myself for this. I spent my whole check. I didn't work too much. I was working less days. I spent my whole check on that stuff. I spent about $140, and I went on a binge that night. I went on a big binge. I mean, I was doing a lot of disgusting stuff to myself, and this is why they call cocaine and a lot of drugs. They call it the devil's. What did Ned Flanders say? They call cocaine the devil's dandruff. They call weed the devil's lettuce, but it is the devil's dandruff because it incites devilish behavior out of you. All I can say was either my second time or my last time. It was my second time buying from him. I fractured my private area like really bad. I didn't go to the doctor, but some of the things I was doing, I had a big cut around me, and I didn't know where it came from. And I just thought that I got stung by a bee somewhere, but I don't feel it. Because another thing too, when you do cocaine, when it gets on your lips or inside your mouth, your mouth gets numb, and a little bit got on my lip, and my lips were numb, and I didn't really feel. I guess I didn't really feel what I was doing. My mom knew what was going on. Like I said, I'm in the other room just getting messed up. But yeah, all those times that I used. So I'm just thinking back. I got 3 bags from the first guy. I got about 6 or 7 the first time with the next person. Then 10 bags, and then 14. Because like I said, he'll do a bag for $10 each. So 14, and then 10, that's 24, and then another 7, that's 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and then 32, 33, 34. So I did about 34 bags, but they weren't big. They were just bags of it. So just imagine what that would do to my nasal, um, like my nasal area. Like it was definitely. I don't know if the hole, if it, if a hole leaves, like if you do it so much, like I know Ike Turner, he did it so much he could put a straw through his nose, but I knew it was a hole somewhere, because the way I would wake up and I would blow my nose and it was just blood coming out every day, and that went on for 10 years. Now, one thing I've never told anybody, because I'm sort of getting off the story, I'm deviating from, I was about to say deviated septum, but I'm deviating from, because I did have it in a way, I did have a deviated septum, but um, around the end of 2015, I saw a bag of coke on the Erie Avenue. I'm just walking down the street from the gym. I'm kind of broke, and I just saw a bag of coke. And I did what I thought would get me high, but all it did was make my heart, you know, pump. Like I reacted to it in the worst way. This is when, well, I'll say that story for another time. But I want to just do the early, so, because I don't want this video to be too long, but early 2015, from like January to June, my life was saturated with nasty encounters. I'm thinking back, I had about 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm really thinking right now. It wasn't that much, because I did the rest of my dirt the end of the year, but it was about 4 people. Because like I said, the first sort of like fling I had, the person I mentioned earlier in the video, I don't really think I would have found somebody like that person. Like I said, because I'm not gonna lie, there was attraction, there was like chemistry, but it just, I wasn't comfortable because I was still sort of young, and I wasn't at that level to have like comfortable. I wasn't really comfortable with the idea of sexual contact. But yeah, I believe at this point in my life, I was allowed to do those things because I turned away from God completely. Like I did the unthinkable. I engaged in an action that is deemed wrong, and as a result, that's why I believe I got on dope. So that's the first part of the first few months of 2015. And by the way, I still think I still had the same mindset as I do now. So let me tell you, 2015, the big things of 2015 was Freddie Gray, the whole police are killing blacks. That was pretty big back then, but I still didn't believe that was the whole story. I still was skeptical whenever I would hear like Walter Scott, because we got into this a little bit at work. I never liked to talk about politics at work when I first started working. But when this guy who was also a dishwasher, he told me, "Hey, shot another black guy," and I was all like, "Well, why was he running?" And he's responded with, "Well, that doesn't give him the right to shoot him." And that's when I just stopped talking about the situation. I stopped talking about it. But I was still beginning to understand. Like I still understood that, yeah, wow, it's not right to kill people. Some of these people, their actions resulted in their early demise. Like me, for example, if I were to die, if I died during drugs, or I met somebody online and they wound up kidnapping me or killing me, that's on me. That's the decision I made, and I would have to, you know, accept what comes with those decisions. But yeah, I still had the same mindset. Like I said, I stopped doing hard drugs. I didn't touch cocaine after, other than what I told you, how it almost killed me. I didn't really touch it anymore, and I barely touch weed like that. But I'm gonna do another part to this later.